Hello everyone. Today we'll talk about a solution to the problem maximum XOR for each query. Let us start by unpacking the statement. We are being told that we have to answer for some queries, but the number of queries is equal to the number of elements in our array. Moreover, after every query we have to remove the last element of the array, and at every query we have to look at the essentially prefix XOR for the XOR of all the remaining elements. So if we look backwards at this process, the last query will take just nums of 0. The second query, nums of 0, XOR nums of 1. And then 0, 1, and 2, and so on. So essentially we have to calculate some values for every prefix of our array and reverse them at the end. It's not necessary for us to do so, but it makes the solution easier. Now the second part. We have to maximize an XOR of some value that we don't have control over and some other value that we have control over. To maximize an XOR, we have to flip as many 0 bits in this thing that we don't have control over into 1 bits. We can do it by XORing with some value, so our value should have, ideally, 1s on all the positions where this prefix XOR has zeros, and zeros in all other positions. However, our value k is not just any value. We have this thing that constrains its maximum value, but it's convenient for us, since it has to be smaller than some power of 2. A power of 2 looks like this. It is a 1 and some zeros. So our value can be, at most, this same thing, but with zeros turned to 1s, and this 1 turned to 0. And of course, the smallest value is just all zeros. And that means that we can get anything between those two numbers, so essentially we have control over the last maximum bits of the number. And that leads us to a simple solution, because we know what this maximum value is, given that we know the prefix XOR. We can just XOR the prefix XOR with the maximum value, and this is the k that will maximize the total XOR. And so the solution will look something like this. Of course, we have to, at the end, reverse, because we're doing the operations in the reverse direction. And now we'll be looking at all the prefix XORs. Since this is essentially a one-liner, this is just return something, we'll be using, to calculate prefix XORs, the function accumulate. So accumulate nums XOR will just give us prefix XORs for all the prefixes. That's what this function accumulate does. And now, for every prefix XOR that we're given, we have to calculate the value k that will maximize the XOR of that prefix XOR. So we'll flip all the bits that are not set among those last bits to be set. So this is this power of 2. This power of 2 minus 1 is the maximum value of k. We XOR it together with the current prefix XOR, and this is the value k that maximizes our current query. So typically when we have XOR in problems, then some tricks like this will be typically used. And in particular in this case, this can be written like this. There are also maybe more difficult but more intuitive ways of writing it. For instance, you can first calculate this final value by maybe taking an OR of the prefix XOR and this value, and then you can XOR it with prefix XOR to get the maximum, because in that case you will essentially get A, which is prefix XOR. If you OR it with this filled part, and then you XOR it again with this prefix XOR, you will also get the value k. But this is the simplest way, and as I mentioned, this solution is essentially a one-liner, so if you want you can write it in more lines if that's more readable to you. But it's nice to know that Python allows us to have pretty short solutions for problems like this.